friend of mine by the name of Freddie broke a guide on his rod. The ceramic fell out of it and he did a temporary repair on it. So I took a razor or a razor like this and I slowly scraped off the old line that was on here that was holding it in place, and right down to the edge of where the epoxy is, and I left that there so that I can start to rewrap all the way up. So I put this guide on, which matches the same size as what he had. Well, I got the guide from a fishing rod that I broke, and I saved kind of old ones like this just for this purpose. Happened to have a guide that matches this one. I'm gonna show you how to rewrap this guide on this rod and repair this. I didn't decide to video this until I was at this stage, so you're gonna have to just kind of guess what I did. I just kind of scraped it along until I got all the what was there, got the old guide off, got the old wrappings off, and the old epoxy off. And it was blue. I happen to have this blue, it's a Pro Wrap Color Fast rod winding thread, and it matches that blue, and I'm going to replace the two of them. So I'll show you how to do that. Hi, my name's Jerry, and I'm a twin troller boat owner. So don't forget to subscribe or give me a thumbs up. Click on the bell, share with your friends, or leave comments and questions below. This is my rod building and repair setup. I went to a class a couple of years ago by that place called Mud Hole. If you look up on the internet you can see it, and they give classes on how to make rods, how to build them from scratch, and all of those things you learn you could also apply to repairing them. In this case, we're going to repair this rod here and replace that guide right here with a new one. Let me show you how this setup works. This is the way how this works. This I've got clamped down. I can put it anywhere as I want. The rod goes here, and you want what you're going to work on to line up with your line supplier. Take these little rings and you put them over the rod, and it holds it in place. This comes in pieces. And as you can see, this lifts off of here. You just put your wing nuts on to tighten it up. You put your spool of line on, whatever color you want. This just unscrews. You put the new one on. You put it through here. Tighten it up to whatever pressure you want. Goes through the ring here, goes through this eyelet here. And then you see this little wire, that's your tension. Put this over that. This goes down to your work surface, and this keeps the tension that you want on it all the time. Let me show you some tools that you're going to need. This is called a burnishing tool. I'll show you how to work that. These two little lines, they're just loops of string with a knot in the end. I'll show you how to work those. You need something to cut line like this. The one advantage of this is I can hold it in my hand. It's looped through this finger, and I can still work. And then when I need it, I can just cut. They're pretty sharp. They work really well. These are the coatings that go on the rod when you get the line all done and the guide is mounted there. And you mix it in a little cup like this. These are actually just medicine cups. Need a little brush to stir it all and to actually apply it onto the rod when we get done. And when it is turning on a spit, it sometimes drips from here. So this sits underneath it just to catch it. And this is really skinny masking tape. And that's what I have the rod guide attached to this temporarily with. I'm going to take one of these, just to loop the knot in the end, and I'm just going to lightly tape it down over here, just so that it overlaps what I'm trying to work on. Now I want to go over the line. I'm going to hand wrap it a couple of times. I'm going to hold it. Put my line right through the loop and affix it over here. I want to do a few more lines. Push it over. I want this line to go underneath all of this. Well, I already have this under there, so I'm going to pull this loose. I pull this line through. There it goes to the other side. Now the line is trapped in there, and I'm pulling it a little bit snug. Cut it off. Again, I'm going to wrap and tighten this up just a hair. Okay, now we want to get onto the foot of this. I'm not sure if you can see that. This is the old guide. So whoever was making this rod took a file and beveled the edges so that it wasn't real thick material at the tip. So as you're rolling over with your line, it isn't trying to jump over something that went from this kind of level up to this level. Since this came off of a rod already, it's already done that way. Now, I'm getting up far enough that I'm going to take one of these off. I don't want to take both. Now we're going to take this loop, slide it under here, right alongside the guide foot. And if this flops around too much, then I'll tape this side too. So the issue now is, how far do I keep going? Well, I really want this to be as strong as I can. So I wrap fairly long ways here, almost to the point where it's starting to climb up the foot like it is here. And I don't want to go too much farther. But where I want this line to go is underneath all this line, and to come down here where I can cut it off. Now here comes the tricky part. You're going to cut the line loose. And it's easy to lose the end of your line. So I'm going to tape it in case I do. So I'm going to take some extra line, try to keep it tight. Put my finger here, keep it tight, come up through the loop, up like this, keep it tight. Take my tape off, and I'm going to pull it out through here. And there it goes. Now I like to bring it back a little, even though cosmetically you can see the line underneath the bump. After a while you're not going to see this. But I want it to be tight underneath the wrappings so that it doesn't come loose. If I came out just here, there's actually a gap down the side of here that it could slide back out. So I'm going to cut this off as close as I can. Later on I'll show you how to get rid of that little piece. A tiny little bit of fuzzy right there that I cut off. And I want to get rid of that. I use heat. And it's gone. It doesn't take much at all to get rid of that. And now it's gone. Now I want to see how I did as far as keeping everything lined up. Now if you need to move this way or that, now's the time to do it. Because you can line it up with the real seat now. This is next. We need to put on the coating. We need to put it on a rack that will spin this. I'll show you how we do that next. This is my rod turning equipment. Made it homemade, pretty much. Over here is a small motor that turns. It turns this shaft. That shaft turns this cup. This cup attaches to the rod. The rod then sits on rollers on different supports all the way down. Let me turn this on for a second. And it just spins. So I'm going to put the coating on there. This will let it spin and not create a little drip in the middle or a thicker spot or anything like that. So let me stop this and I'll show you how to mix up the epoxy and how to apply it. As you can see, there's two syringes here. One's blue, one's red. Well, when the epoxy mixes together, it does a chemical reaction and they then harden. To get some out of here, you need exact quantities of each of these to make this work correctly. You use this red syringe on this one, the blue syringe on this one, and I keep it in a little baggie so that little bit of residue that's still on the syringe never gets touching that syringe. And we're going to put it in a cup like this. We're only doing one little guide. If we were doing a whole rod, we would use more of this. Put it in, looking through the side. And maybe I'll have too much, but I'd rather have too much than just plain not enough. This is pretty sticky stuff, so keep a rag around. All right, there's number 2. We're going to squirt it in. All right, they're separated. Now you need something to stir that with. And I have a million of little stirrers that I keep, and I'm going to start to stir. Also going to set my watch. This will beep in 5 minutes. What we want is 10 minutes of mixing time. Scrape across the bottom, go one direction, go the other. This stuff is critical that you must thoroughly mix it. So I'm going to turn you off for 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes. You turn off the motor, turn it back on. It will spin the other way. Here's our epoxy. I'm going to take a small brush. It's a finishing brush basically. Put it in and I'm going to start to apply it. Now I don't know how well you can see, but I'm going to hold it in one place and get an even line going all the way around. There's one end, and let's do the other end. And what you're looking for is dry spots on the thread. You want it to try to be uniformly thickness, but at least evenly wet. If I let that sit for a second, you'll see it gets shiny all over. Because if I go the opposite way like this, if there is a spot that I'm not getting because of the direction I was going in, this will help fill it in. Now I can see that there are a few bubbles in here, so I'm going to get rid of them and I'll show you how. With a little heat. You don't want to do a lot, because if you warm this up, it will drip like water. Wherever you see a bubble, we are pretty much done. We've got a good coverage underneath the guide itself. We've got an overlapping edge of epoxy on both ends and nice and even. Another 24 hours of this spinning just like this. This will all be hardened. You can always tell when you're done enough when you see the epoxy that you already did. You can see it's flowing around inside there. When you stick something in there and you realize this is hard as rock, then you know that is. It's important to have this kind of in an environment where there's not a lot of dust, because that epoxy will pick it up. If you leave it spinning like this, it will turn a uniform, even path all the way around, and it will look good. Okay, it's the following morning. I just turned off the motor. Here's the cup, it's really hard, but if I put my fingernail in it, it will dent. So this is okay to touch, but I wouldn't go pressing on it for another couple of days anyway, not hard. So I'm not gonna have the ability to fish with this right now, but it's done spinning. I can take this off and put it in the corner in the room and just leave it like that. I only do this every once in a while, and as you can see, it's not that difficult to do with homemade equipment. Thanks for watching. Bye now. I hope you liked my video. If you did, please subscribe right there in the corner, or give me a thumbs up. Maybe even share it with some friends. Leave some comments or questions below. Or you can even push on that bell down there, and that will give you notice when I put out another video. Thanks for watching. Bye now.